Hey everyone, Jason here today with a bit of a problem. My Sterilite container is falling apart due to a weight load issue. So here we have one of the bottom pieces. Well, what happened was, with all the weight of Lego and all, caused this to crack. Not once but twice. And I noticed there's some stress issues on the back as well. This actually sat at the bottom. So what happened was all that weight was pushing this down in here, and I've been noticing this because my Lego collection was leaning to one side until I heard a crack. So I'm going to repair this. Now I'm going to make this the bottom. Pop this top off, stick this one back in there, and see if we can reinforce this. Now, pulling the top of these off is pretty easy actually. They just snap in place. Sometimes they'll just come apart. So hopefully I can get lucky. They're just held in with some clips. So there's the top piece. So you can see right here, there's a clip right there. They're all around each of the supports. This piece is fine, so I'm going to set this one back on the top. If it will go down on there. Well, duh, it's backwards. Okay. Now, that still doesn't solve our weight issue problem yet, but I'm going to show you something really clever here. And I was kind of looking at this and noticed that these are pretty hollow inside. So there's a couple ways I can fix this. Maybe get some poplar or maybe a piece of wood and slip it down in that hole. Now I can't just simply use some pre-cut 1x2 dimensional lumber, or I can get a little bit more technical and stick some rebar in there. But I don't want this to weigh 1,000 pounds. So I'm hoping to slip a piece of wood in here and run it all the way down to the bottom. So it'd be like a table built into this as well. It'd be a very rigid structure, and I don't have to worry about that. And as you can see right here, it's starting to affect all these. So now I'm looking at all the joints. I'm going to take some tight bond or Loctite super glue, and I'm going to set it down inside these spots here and just kind of line this up. It doesn't matter. At least I can't see it from the front, and I'm going to reinforce this. Now this is not going to be a permanent solution. I'm just going to fix this up here. So do I really care how it looks? No, because it's off to the side. I'm just going to pour some in there. Well, a lot in there. Alright, let's kind of put some on this side too. Now be careful with working with super glue, because it will actually, it dries pretty darn quick. And two, you can actually glue your hands together and stuff, which would not be fun. Trying to line this up. I can't really stick a clamp in there. I can either hold it like that for about 10 minutes, which obviously I would not want to do, or just leave it like that. My goal is just to get this to fuse back together. Now this is going to be a permanent bottom. I don't really care. Now I noticed that I have a problem here too, and that this one is falling apart. So, and I'm starting to get crazy glue on my hands. That's why I'm saying you have to be very careful. I'm just going to run a bead on this just to reinforce that. And I'm going to let that dry. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now this will temporarily fix this, but I want to fix this even better. And see, you can see right here, these are starting to bulge out just a bit. So if I stick some dimensional lumber or maybe rebar inside of this, and stick it all the way up to this slot here, and maybe put some foam or something to protect this. We don't want to be poking holes in the top of this. And this will be more like a table. So hopefully we can get that fixed. So if anybody's running into this problem, hopefully this video will help everyone out. So be sure to like, comment your thoughts, subscribe, turn on the notification bell for more Lego content, and possibly repair videos on how to get your stuff working here. Well, I think I almost got it. I think I'm just going to have to leave that. Yeah. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit. I may set this outside, let the heat get to it, because it's like 111 outside right now. So hopefully the moving air and the temperature will dry that up. I'll get the other side repaired because it's the same as this. You can see how that's just pulling out right there. I'll just get that fused back together and reinforce this and see what we can do about repairing this whole thing. I don't want to run out and buy another one. Well, the bottom of it dried up pretty nice, but I'm still not going to trust that too much. So I found myself an old piece of trim that I had when I was doing a renovation project. So let's see if it fits inside one of these tubes. Let's see if we can slip that right in here. Hoping I have enough pieces to do this. So I'm just going to have to wiggle it in. Okay, well, it went through both sides. So let's see here. Okay, it looks pretty good. Now, basically what I'm going to do is hack this top of this off level with this. Maybe keep it a 1/16 of an inch higher. Just, you know, hack it off here. And the top will sit right on this. So it'll push down on the inside of this, and this will just float. I think that might be the best way of doing so. So let me go and see if I have any more lumber, and if I get enough pieces, I'll just put those in there and be ready to reinforce this puppy. Well, I may have some of that wood left. Let's see if I can find some. I always like to repurpose wood. Looks like that's a piece of that. That stuff's a bit too thin. You can see it's been recycled, but hey, you know what? If I have enough, oh well. Now this is oak. I don't like using oak for that. So hopefully those 3 pieces are long enough. Maybe those will be fine. I tried to pull out some other pieces, but this stuff is rather questionable. It's got lots of knots and it's all twisted and turned, or just too thin. So maybe those 3 sticks will be just fine. Let's slip the remaining sticks inside the slots. Obviously they're long enough. Now I could have just spent the time and cut a piece that fits exactly inside those slots, but I'd have to get a table saw and a planer out just to get the right dimensions. And that's going a little elaborate for a Lego project like this. That's why I'm keeping this Lego related. So, indeed, those are long enough. So all I need to do now is to mark these, put these on my miter saw, whack them off, stick the top back on there, and we're done. Won't have to worry about that weight load again. I have a few more of these I need to do. So let's see what happens. Okay, so here I got my miter saw. Now I want to check and be sure that each piece of lumber is free of nails, because this is recycled lumber. So, oh, found a nail right there. Now I could just take a hammer and whack this through the front, or I can take a pair of wire cutters, grab onto the nail slightly, and just pull it out through the back. That keeps any tear out from the front. Now I don't really care because you won't see that anyways. So let's check the rest of the lumber real quick. See if everything is free of debris. Okay. Now this piece here is actually going to be my measuring tool. So I got to find the marker here. So I already have it marked. That's where I want to cut it, right there. And I made sure it was a 1/16, maybe 3/32 of an inch higher, so you know, to compensate for expansion. So let's start getting onto this. Before we start cutting any type of wood or using power tools, be sure to use a pair of safety glasses. You only get one set of eyes, so what I want to do first is, this wood already has miter joints on one side, so I'm going to whack these off so I have a good straight corner to work from. And let's get going here. I've been doing woodworking for a long time, so I know exactly what I've been doing on this. This is like really old school stuff for me. It's not like Lego. There we go. Let's stack that on top of one another, and I'm just going to nail. Now, just as a warning, you may want to mute this here for a second because this will get loud. I know some people are not into loud noises. Just trying to find a good flat surface to cut on. Some of the stuff has got this garbage on it, so I'm seeing here. Let me get a razor knife real quick. Let me slice all that off. Because I want to get a good, solid, straight cut against the fence. That's the fence right there. So take that. Always make sure you use the blade away from you. Looks like we got all that off there. Let's get that off too. There we go. So looks like this side's more reliable, so I'm going to cut them like that. So I'm just pre-cutting one side. That looks okay. And that one looks good too. So let's get this going. This is just a rough cut, but I still want it to be pretty square. Well, it just so happens that my junky camcorder decided to cut off very briefly due to a low battery. So where were we? Okay, let's see how we're going to do this. There's a couple ways that we can cut this stuff. I just want to make sure I have, you know, the stuff against the fence the way I like it. So it looks like this part is pretty reliable. So let's make sure that we have everything ready to go. Again, for take two, I'm just going to whack that off right there. So a warning again, there will be a loud noise. Whew, I got that part done. Now we got to cut the other length. So now you could cut these all at one time. Now I just wanted to do one of those like that now. You can cut them all at once, but now since I got a good size, you know, I guess I could do them like that. Now oak is a very hard wood to cut in general. So I just remembered something I shouldn't have done was to draw on the back side of one of these. So let's get that lined up. Also, no telling how accurate that is. Okay, so the best way I can do it is to get a pencil and mark each one of these, which I apparently don't have, so hold on. Okay, so let's get going here. I'm going to cut on the good side. So the best way I could do this, now these are pretty critical at this point. I'm going to mark everything down real quick and make sure that everything is even. Never use the previous wood, always use the same one to mark your stuff. Now, by all means, I'm not a professional carpenter, it was just a hobby of mine. Oh, about 15 years ago before I got into Lego, because wood got to be overpriced. Well, I can't say the same for Lego. Lego got overpriced, so it won't be for long before I move to one of my other hobbies, which is electronics, and even that's getting overpriced. Okay, so we're ready to go. Let's start cutting. Now, I'm not going to cut on the line. It depends on how you measure your stuff. I'm going to cut on this side of the line. So now I'm going to do each one of these individually. So I'll do the first one and I'll leave the rest of it up for your imagination. So let's line up the laser. Now I don't trust the laser on this. Always bring the blade down and see exactly where the blade is going to line up. And it's right where I want it to be. The blade is on this side of the blade. So here we go. Move all this other stuff. We don't want any shop accidents. That didn't cut all the way. Okay, so let me get the other three cut and we'll come back and see what this looks like inside the Sterilite container. Okay, let's see how well this works. Just have to wiggle them in. Oh, that's perfect. It's a bit too high, but like I said, I want to distribute the load evenly. Now that one looks like it's a bit too high. Now if they are too high, we can always recut them. It's better than nothing. So let's just set them all inside here. Now, another way to accurately do this correctly, which I may just do real quick, it would save me time from really messing up, is I'm going to put all the drawers back in real quick, temporary of course, to see if everything is the right height. So let me populate this real quick with drawers and we'll know exactly if that's the right height or not. That's why I said leave it a little larger. It's easy to trim a little bit off. All the drawers are populated and really the measurements didn't change much. So one thing we have to remember is if I lift this up a bit, you know, just a bit, how much of this will I have? That piece seems like it's a little too high. This one seems fine. If they're just a little bit, I'm not too worried about it. Just lift this up a bit. This one's a bit high, and that one. So it seems like the end that crunched the most was the worst one. So putting a top on this here, Now the question is, does this thing actually sit all the way inside here? Well, let's see. No, it doesn't actually. It's actually space inside. So now, do I dare trim those up? No. Not going to trim them up. I want to leave this as loose as possible. So I'll snap these back on here the best I can. And that should take care of that. Okay, we'll do this side. Make sure everything's secured. And, you know, these might seem like they're a bit loose. I want them loose. I want the drawers to have some air in them. So if I were just to simply leave it like this, I can. Now this does seem a bit wobbly, but look, that ain't going nowhere. I could probably set a ton of bricks on that, and the wood would break inside before the rest of it will. Now I can easily pull these drawers out, and they used to bind before because of the weight load. Now I can easily pull these out, and there's plenty of space. So the only thing I can think of right now is that this in here seems like it's a bit high, probably about 1/8 of an inch. On this side, this back part locked in. This one's off just a hair. So I'm going to trim up these two front pieces and get them just right, and make this as level as possible. Now this is pretty sturdy now. I can set more Sterilites on top of this. So hopefully that'll solve the problem. So let me pop this top back off real quick. And I'm going to trim these up off by 1/16 of an inch. So everything has been trimmed up. Make sure everything is secured. I say that looks really good. There we go. Now I can easily access the drawers inside this. Let's give it a field test. This one was the one that was stuck. Now, that's how that's supposed to work. This one's pretty good. Good. That one needs to be emptied. There we go with that. That's pretty full. May have to reorganize that one. But you get the idea. So there we have it. I fixed the Sterilite container with the weight load issue. Now I can press on this, and I know that the top of this can't hold a lot of weight now. So I might do another one of these real quick, which is another one that I have. It's the same procedure. It hasn't illustrated any of the stress cracks like this one has, but I don't want it to. So I'm going to take that one apart and redo it like I did this one. Now we have a really sturdy Sterilite container. I can slip a piece of plywood, set it on top of this and the other one, and put the other Sterilites on top, and it will be good as new. So hopefully this video will help everyone out into strengthening up your Sterilite containers to handle a larger weight load for your Lego collection. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell for more Lego. Be sure to check out my other social media. Thank you for watching.